Now, he's a critic. He's on the Democratic primary. He's a critic of the Bushes, but he never criticizes Bill Clinton.
I think it was the movie Men in Black that said, if you want to know what's really going on, read the National Enquirer. And so ever since then, when I go to the grocery store, I really kind of check out what they've got on their headlines.
Did you see this article?
No.
Yeah.
I just wondered, do you have a comment about that?
About the National Enquirer?
Just
Well, there's
about-
good and bad in almost every. There's more bad in the mainstream media than there is in the National Enquirer, as far as I'm concerned. They slant it, cut it, change it. I've been described in Vanity Fair as a brash braggadocian in an article they did on the McDonald case. And the author of that article was a fellow named Sam Anson. Sam Anson. Okay? That's kind of interesting. I looked at that and I said, Sam Anson. Now that name, that sounds familiar. The son of Sam murders in New York. And he's from New York, by the way. Now, that doesn't mean he's involved in it, but that's one of your, probably, in my opinion, it's probably one of these subliminal messages of some sort. But anyway, he called me a brash braggadocian. The New York Times told me that I was or said in the front page of an article they did about me before Y2K that I was one of the national leaders of some movement. I don't know if it wasn't terrorists, it was the whatever in the country. So they've described me in all kinds of terms, not complimentary, by the way, not at all. But yeah, I get it and read it. And I'll tell you another magazine that I really like, that I highly recommend, is the Spotlight. The Spotlight tells it like it is. It's right out there. And as a matter of fact, they've asked me to be a West Coast representative. And if there's any stories come up on the West Coast, they've asked me if I'd check into it. And I do it for free. But go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a comment for parents about an article that I read about the children that are looked for. And they looked for obedient children, children that do as they're told without question. So precocious children are safer.
Right.
Hi, Ted. Where I come from in South Africa, we have approximately 25,000 children disappearing every year. There's been a huge investigation into where these children are disappearing, and they have found the children leaving in aeroplanes out to Europe. These are street urchins and children that have been given $5 and told they're going on a trip overseas, and their parents actually say that's great and they're going to get uplifted and things like that, and they're going to get an education overseas, and they're going into sex slavery and Satanism. There's been a lot of evidence of ritual killings. They found one burial ground where 15 children were buried under a bridge. What happened? The police there put on a concerted effort to investigate these deaths and things that were happening, but they overzealously went on a witch hunt, and anybody that was into any kind of alternative thinking was all of a sudden branded as a Satanist. And the police were going around from school to school giving talks and asking children to snitch on each other and go to the headmaster so they could draw up a list. Just because my father was a homeopath, I was all of a sudden a Satanist. They came to our house and they, under the Security Act, pulled the house apart trying to look for satanic articles and things like that. Subsequently, we found the head of the department researching this was a Satanist himself.
Yeah, they've infiltrated. This stuff tells into the Illuminati, the drug operation, pornography.
And still to this day, I practice alternative medicine in South Africa and still branded a Satanist because of a very closed-mindedness. And I just want to know where they draw the line where Satanism actually starts and ends, because people who are generally free thinkers who use natural products, for instance, can be labeled as such as well.
Well, I've been told by people inside the cults and at high levels that the communists have infiltrated the cult drug network in this country today. And this is all part of the communist movement to take over from within. And I have no reason to believe it isn't true.
There's another thing I would like to express that I've noticed when I've been up here in the Starbucks stores where all the kids are hanging out. If you look on the fancy murals they got on their walls, every single wall in every Starbucks store has the pyramid with the eye bleeding into a chalice, a satanic cup.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I've noticed that also. You'll see that Illuminati pyramid almost every day. Yeah. Thank you.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you got a few more minutes.
You had mentioned a number of other people that were relaying information onto you, and some of them had been killed. What? We're all obviously thankful that you haven't been killed. But what has accounted for your safety?
Yeah, why am I alive? I'm alive for several reasons. The last time anybody attempted to do anything to me was in Nebraska. I was in John DeCamp's office. I called Omaha, 50 miles away, to arrange to meet somebody at the Bohemian restaurant. And I met that person at 12 noon. And then he and I went out and did some work. It was on the Johnny Gosh kidnapping case. I came back at 3 o'clock. I left 3 o'clock, drove back to Lincoln. At 3:30, I was doing 75 miles an hour down the freeway, and my right front wheel came off. And they had loosened the lug nuts on my wheels. That was the last time. I've made it very clear, first of all, back in the early 80s, when I had this problem, the security problem with gunmen in 1982, I had developed a lot of information about homicides that had taken place in the United States by the cults, and I had information about 18 homicides and who committed them, where the bodies were, if there were bodies or otherwise, details of the homicides, and I put those in an envelope and I was ready to mail them out to a dozen people if anything happened to me or anybody in my family. That's number one. Number two, I had lunch with the fellow about that time in order to get the cult hit off of Florida and Houston out off of me. That would have been 83. And I knew that he was tied into the network, and I had said, let's go have lunch. I went and had lunch with him. I told him, I said, if anything happens to me or any members of my family, there will be retaliation. I think you should be aware of that. And I've arranged for retaliation in a dozen instances. Not the dirt bags that are coming after me, the people in the surveillances, they're sitting half a block away. They quit, by the way, when I started chasing them out of the neighborhood, they quit running those surveillances on me, those permanent surveillances on me. But I do get a moving surveillance once in a while, and then I turn around and go after them. They think I'm crazy. They might be right, okay? Let them think I'm crazy. And they think I'm paranoid. They are right about that. But a little paranoia is good. You know, it makes you safe. But in addition to that, I've arranged for retaliation, and I've had a lot of publicity. I've made a lot of newspapers, like the front page of the LA Times. I've been in People magazine here recently. And I've been on a lot of TV shows and radio talk shows. I have my own show, on Stan Solomon's show and all that. So if they do anything to me, it'd be counterproductive. It'd just give me credibility. And I don't think they want to mess with me or my family. They really shouldn't. It'd be very dangerous for some of them.
Just two quick questions, and the second one I think is, maybe it's rhetorical, but if you were able to round up these people that were committing these crimes, Clintons, members of the Illuminati and stuff like that, what do you think would be an exact punishment for their crimes?
I think you have to consider the facts and the evidence that be gathered before you can make a conclusion as to what should be pumped. Anybody involved in murder, as far as I'm concerned, they should be executed themselves. I mean, you know.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The other one is,
these people are animals. They're evil, evil people.
You mentioned earlier that you considered yourself a Lone Ranger. Have you been looking for a Tonto?
No, I don't even trust Tonto.
Okay.
I'm a Lone Ranger without Tonto.
I have a National Enquirer type question. Everyone's afraid to ask it. You might not want to answer this, and if you don't want to, it's fine. But can you bring us up to speed on the Art Bell thing? A lot of us are witnesses or listeners of Art Bell, and I'd really like to know. You don't have to say a whole bunch, but I would really like to know.
Yeah.
If you think that, like, he never says nothing about Bill Clinton either, you know, never. And I wonder if you think maybe those guys in the black suits got to him.
You know, I don't mind you asking that question.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the information right out of the court records, but I can't say any more than that. I guess you're all aware that Art Bell sued me for millions of dollars. Are you aware of that?
No. Who's Art Bell?
He's a radio talk show host down in Pahrump, Nevada. He was on 5 hours a night, 6 nights a week. He's heavy into the UFOs and Area 51 and all that sort of thing. And when I had my radio talk show, December the 9th, 1997, I had a fellow named Dave Hinkson on my show, and we're talking about, Dave Hinkson has a series of health products, colloidal silver and zinc and plutonium and all that sort of thing. And we're talking about that, and all of a sudden Dave comes out and starts talking about, well, I have information about Art Bell. I said, yeah, well, what's that? He said, he started making some disparaging remarks about Art Bell being accused of something and then covering it up and being able to pay his way out of it. And he asked me my advice on what he should do, and I said, well, I'd go check the court records. And that's about all that I said. I didn't accuse him of anything. And then we went on to another topic. A woman from West Virginia called on the show, and I said, yes, Ruth. Her name was Ruth. And that was it. But the fellow did infer that Art Bell was involved in some sort of a sexual problem with a juvenile. Well, next thing I know, I'm being sued. Dave Hinkson is being sued, and the radio station, Nashville, Tennessee, WWCR, is being sued. WWCR is one of the largest shortwave stations in the world. They have, I think, 100,000 watt operations there. So Art Bell's attorney goes on Good Morning America, and Art Bell himself has made many times a statement that I accused him of being a child molester. I've never accused him of being a child molester. That's absolutely not true. I never made that statement about him. He's misquoting me, and when we get in the courtroom, and you know, that'll all come out. I can say right now that what he said about me is not true, and I have never said anything unkind about him at all, to be honest with you. As a matter of fact, about a year before my show, somebody called in on my show and asked about Art Bell. I said, I think he's doing a good job. He's helping to wake up America. Now, do any of you know Kurt Billings? No. Okay, Kurt Billings all of a sudden comes up with a memo. We call for summary judgment. Get me out of the case. And the day before we go for oral arguments on the summary judgment, Kurt Billings and his wife file papers, and in this memo, and I can tell you this because this is in the court record, file papers claiming that he talked to me last November in Las Vegas, and he did talk to me, by the way, and he did ask me about the case, and I told him I couldn't discuss it because it's in litigation. But in his memo, he said that I had pictures of Art Bell Sr. involved in sexual pleasure with animals and other things in a cave in Colorado, and then I said I had him in New Mexico, and then I admitted that I didn't have any pictures. Well, that's not right lie. I never said that. And then in addition, there's a guy named Gray Wolf. Has anybody heard of a fellow named Gray Wolf? He's down in Washington State. He came in with a memo about the day before also, and he said that he talked to me in an exposition in February 1997, which would have been 8 or 9 months before the Art Bell show, my show with Dave Hinkson, and then I said I was going to get Art Bell. He's no effing American and all that. I don't use that word, by the way. Art Bell is no effing American, and I'm going to get him, and this and that. These are all outright lies. And I'm just basically just rocking along, keep my mouth shut, not making any statements one way or the other. By the way, we lost the summary judgment. The judge ruled that we didn't have to go to trial, and I shouldn't be in any trial. But, you know, it costs a lot of money. That's why I'm offering you those videotapes cheap, so I can pay my attorney bill. Yes?
One thing I just want to, one thing I want to mention to you, Ted, is that I'm very appreciative of people like yourself and Eustace coming up here, because I do look up to you guys. I'm a newbie in this field, and watching you and listening to your experiences, listening to Eustace's experiences, Kathy's experiences, gives me hope that I'm going to live to a ripe old age, and I'm not setting up my own death right now by the age of 40, because I think I'm having a little more hope than
than most people have for me right now.
You're doing a great job as far as, from our conversation we had today.
Yeah.
And just keep up the good work. I agree with Kathy and Eustace. I think this thing's turning around. I think
so
we're
too.
making progress. And I've been in the fight for 20 years, ever since the McDonald case in 1980. And I'm more excited and enthused about it than you can imagine. In spite of the fact that, they're burglarizing my place and running surveillances on me and loosening the lug nuts on my wheels. By the way, one of the things that they did is they came in my place in the middle of the night and put a penny at the foot of my bed. Just to let me know that I'm available. They can get to me anytime. They're trying to intimidate me. I'm not really intimidatable, I'm really not. Because, if I ever catch them in my house, I'll blow them away.
Well, one of the, I think a lot of the big question that everybody always has in their mind is the ultimate question of why all this happens. And I've given that a lot of thought over the last year. One of the answers that I've come up with, and I think this is hitting almost close to home, but I'm not sure quite there yet. Have you heard of the Royal Institute of International Affairs?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that George Bush is actually a member of the RIIA, which is run by the Queen of England, and as far as I understand, everything stems from the RIIA, which is where George Bush and everybody else connected with the presidency and in this organization takes their orders from. Everybody who's involved with satanic cults and the Masonic rituals takes their orders from the RIAA or RIIA. And that's where it all stems from, is actually the City of London.
I agree with that.
And which is supposed to be the new Troy.
I agree with that.
And
I agree with that. It ties into the Bilderbergs.
Yeah.
And there's the Bilderbergs, not the Bilderbergs per se at a meeting, but a group of the Illuminati. A group of the Illuminati had a meeting here a year or so ago, secret meeting. And the mainstream newspapers didn't even print it, but there's a little old newspaper in Pickett, someplace in Mississippi. I've got the article in here. They printed it, and it described them as Illuminati members. And it's all, it has the big ribbon that ties in. And anybody, like I think you were mentioning, when you consider what Kathy says, what Eustace says, what I say, and some of these other speakers, it all kind of ties together, doesn't it? We all have different experiences.
Because I can't, when I have a piece of the puzzle, you have a piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
Eustace, Kathy, we all have a piece of the puzzle, Bruce. And I notice this is an amazing weekend because it's the light bulbs are going on in my head because there's connections that I didn't quite glue into starting to come together now, and I think for everybody in this room, so this has been, well worth it.
Yeah, well, the CIA is, I say the CIA is the most evil organization in the history of the world. They're involved in kidnapping kids. They're involved in the drug operation, international drug trafficking. They're killing people. They're assassinating people. Chip Tatum on my radio show said that he was involved in the takeover of 20 governments around the world where they put a puppet CIA operation in afterwards, including Australia. We put in the government in Australia, and now the Australian government comes out, takes all the guns away because they had that shooting down there with 26 people killed. That's all planned.
Last question.
Can you comment on the New Age movement?
Can I what, ma'am?
Comment on what they call the New Age movement?
Yeah, the New Age is I don't know that there's a New Age movement right today. I think that's kind of pre-hippie day, wasn't it? Part of the hippie movement back in the 60s. And
Not really.
what do you?
I think it's even bigger now, dude.
Do you?
2000 to 212.
Yeah. I haven't done any research on that. Can you comment on it?
No, I'm just.
I'm curious. For instance, there's a lot of people out right now that are teaching, working with personal light vehicles to do with sacred geometry, that
Right.
kind. Okay, so that's what I mean. And
Astrology and that sort of thing.
Yes, but I do that work, and I'm sure in hell not a Satanist.
Well, no, I don't. I'm not saying that every New Age person is involved in the Satanic movement, but I know that a lot of the people in the Satanic movement are involved in astrology and that sort of thing. But just because I make a statement like that doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Yeah, I don't know that much about the New Age, really. Are there any New Age experts here that want to comment?
We haven't got time for comments, I'm sorry.
We're all through.
We are all through.
I'm going to put my shoes back on, and that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks.